Megamarathon. Alright, bring chat up. What's up, guys? I was minding my own business, had food and everything. Ingvar, thank you so much for the subscription there. Thanks for the 5 months. What's up, everybody? Let's see. All right, so turn that down. What's with the chat? Nothing at all. It's back in time. Is all. Yeah, let's break something up straight out of the gate. This.
また一つテレビゲームの神話が生まれる。メガドライブだけに許された超大型ロールプレイングゲームバーメリオン。
Sword off. I like that subtitle. Alright, how's it going? Moish Zenki Samson Bud the Spud. I forgot to tweet. Hold on, good streamer. Ingvars, thanks again. Akada, Denier, Soulfam, Eiko. How's it going? Alright. I am not playing the Japanese version, as you clearly had way of saying. No, I'm playing the English version. No. Oh, god damn it. Cat, what? Shut up. This is gonna be hard to stream today, isn't it? Alright. Let me close some shit. Let's get this started. Get rid of this. Take away the dildo. Alright, so the current poll, by the way, because I didn't have the usual screen up. Let's bring that up. WrestleMania is a favorite, but it's looking very much like we're not gonna have to worry about that for a while, as not fucking damn it, as the alright, the cat is out of control. Give me 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. I should start doing like some 1 full minute sound tests. Also wrong screen there. Start doing like 1 full minute sound tests before I actually start streaming, so that the cat starts busting my balls before I actually start talking to you guys. But we're good now. For a little bit at least. So let's get this started. I don't have all night. Neither do you guys. Alright. Let me get chat over here. Okay, so tonight we're gonna start playing Vermilion, finally. I haven't played this game in years. I used to have it. I believe I have a Japanese copy somewhere, but I couldn't be bothered digging around all the games I have in my closet right now because I don't have room to display them properly and pick them up and stuff like that. But this is Vermilion. It was a very early Sega game. We're gonna talk about it for a little bit. I focused on the developers this time. Hopefully, this one we're gonna be on some website later this year. So this is a video game developed by Sega themselves for the Mega Drive. Came in a 5 megabits cartridge, which was very much ahead of the competition at the time. Now, okay, here we have the American cover art. They're like, okay, do a guy with a horse, because that's what's in the original, I guess, but it's quite different. I don't know. The original cover art as well. I mean, it's all awesome, but it's kind of framed and docked and embedded. It's a bit too small for how good it is, and it could have been. But I don't know. The European one, I'm not bothering showing you that because it's exactly the same. But there's something very interesting on the back of the American box. So let me show that off before I forget to. So if we do this, you can't quite see it clearly, I don't think, but there's a screenshot in game. You're fighting an enemy, and the equipped magic spell is called Rhythm. Now that's not in the final game, but that's the interesting bit there. Let's see what this actually says. Sword of Vermilion. Evil threatens the world of Vermilion. Armies of the evil Sarkhan march in conquest. All hearts look to you. From your beginnings in the humble village of Wycliffe, you must search the world for the eight rings of good. I didn't remember anything about rings actually. On the long road ahead, you'll face treacherous governors and beasts 10 times your size, which is quite true if you look at that fucking awesome screenshot. You'll travel to 14 towns and battle through 14 first-person dungeons where every corner can mean death. Choose from dozens of swords and shields, prepare to face the arch-monsters, forked tails, and hideous eyes of Sarkhan's minions. Talk with townspeople to learn the secrets of the caves. Be ready for hundreds of hours of adventure gameplay. Save up to 3 different games with battery backup, with 30 spells and 20 special items. Use them with care. At last, armed with the Sword of Vermilion, you're ready to meet Sarkhan in the final struggle. I'm not actually aware. Is anybody aware what they refer to with Vermilion in the original game? Because I'm guessing that's not necessarily the same in the localized version at all. We're gonna talk about the original art in bars because it's good enough that deserves talking. But if you call the Jewel Master stream with the lore, you actually already heard what I'm gonna say soon, but let's go step by step here. And we're talking about the release of the game. It happened on December the 16th, 1989. Alright, this game came out in 1989. That's almost that's 14 months after the console release. So this is one of the very first games for the library. So that would mark this game as the third earliest of the RPG kind in the Mega Drive library. That would be after Phantasy Star 2 and Super Highlight. Super Highlight being the I think it's Asmic that ported it. a T&E Soft. But the other two, of course, Phantasy Star 2 being the first RPG for the console by Sega, and Vermilion also being by Sega, but they're radically different in their development teams. Now, Sega's 16-bit machine with its arcade approach was not really ever meant to have a library flourishing with RPG titles. Just think that in the next year, so 1990, only 3 titles would come out for this genre, even though this game here incorporates various genres, but it's still like an RPG game, or what you would call an RPG console game. You know, actually a role play, but then again, when do you in a console? So in 1990, only 3 titles came out that you can define as RPGs: Sorcerian, Phantasy Star 3, and Star Cruiser. Of which only Phantasy Star 3 is actually an original game developed by Sega, whereas Sorcerian and Star Cruiser come from the Japanese computers by Falcom and Arsys, respectively. Nowadays, it's easy when you have access to a full library of video games on a console to go ahead and say, alright, I want to play an RPG, I'm not gonna look into the Mega Drive because it's not a console for RPGs. It's easy to be wrong though. Very first Mega Drive RPGs by Sega were nothing short of revolutionary. We're not without their flaws, we've seen much of that in the last few weeks. Phantasy Star 2, Vermilion, and Phantasy Star 3 even, come at me. All 3 of those delivered incredible presentation values with astounding visuals and sound, over-the-top technical performances, maybe not so much in 3, but also a lot of technical variety. This game showcases that the best in my opinion, because it ranges from dungeon crawling, like first-person mazes with dungeon crawling, but it also has a fucking auto map, which is something when you think of what else this game does, which is top-down visual action RPG battles and boss fights that have humongous monster sprites, different side view visuals, and side-scrolling mechanic that most people shit on, but you just look at the back of the box of not the Japanese version. Apparently that one doesn't have a screenshot of that. Back in the day, you would see a screenshot of this game and you would be like fucking impressed, because just the graphics, man. So that was my point. Most importantly, the atmosphere in these games they deliver to you. Also, thanks to the fucking irreplaceable FM sound, in my opinion, is the most important value in there. All of these things represent the collective reason as to why Vermilion is a very well-known game. Like, if you had a Mega Drive, especially early on, you probably had this game. I did, like we did. I replayed it years ago, but I remember the game. I remember the music. I remember the feeling, the graphics, the controls. But I'm not gonna remember where to go, what to do, or anything about the plot, but the beginning of it, really. Now, the game was localized, as we've seen, as you all know, as Sword of Vermilion. It would only actually get out of Japan 13 months later, when it reached the States on January the 28th, 1991. It came with a hint book consisting of 106 pages, full with screenshots and maps. We should look into that because it's got artwork, if I remember to. Although I didn't check if it's original artwork and not shots taken from the Japanese manual. But there's only a few, so it's not gonna take long. I don't think, like, this is just like Phantasy Star 2, if you think about it. This and Phantasy Star 2 were the first games that Sega made for the Mega Drive that were RPG titles. Interestingly, what happened with both of them is that they came out with a hint book outside of Japan. What I never understood is, did the hint book only come out in the States? because I think it just was a America thing. I don't think it ever came out with a handbook in Europe. Neither Fantasy Star 2 or Vermilion. Maybe somebody in chat knows, because I do not. Alright, say we're gonna talk about the original cover art here. So we are. This is realized by Hiroaki Shioya. Now this artist was employed by Sega for some other cover arts for the Mega Drive, such as this one, Super League. It's very good stuff. I like the design on the back and the transparent baseball bat, which is not actually transparent, but it's pretty cool. Also, Jewel Master, really cool ring there, very circular. We have Bahamut Senki and Sangokushi Retsudan, a Romance of the Three Kingdoms game. All these were for the Mega Drive and realized by the same artist. As you can clearly tell, they're all very good looking. Interestingly, this guy also worked on some Zork. Zork, I think these are cover arts, right? What does it say? Adventure novels. I don't think these are books, but it might be actually. I forgot. I took this straight from the Jewel Master research, so there's that. There's a third one, and he's a better shot of the first one. I like the perspective on this shot a lot, and the colors, even though the scan is probably messing them up quite a bit. Also, to everybody's surprise, he did these posters for Lucas. They're about Star Wars, except I think I see Indiana Jones somewhere, and a dude on a horse, and a dude in a police car. I have no fucking clue who those might be, but it's all good. There's faces, recognizable faces. It's confusing because I don't think I noticed before, because it's Harrison Ford's face as Indiana Jones and he's in Star Wars as well as Solo, so I don't think I ever noticed before that he's actually wearing the Hindi hat there. Now, taking a look at the other random artwork I found of his, this is an artwork done for the band Pitcher back in 1984 on their compilation album Heavy Metal Years. There's a website of his we've looked at before together. I'm just gonna link it in chat this time. There's a really beautiful gallery in there you can put your eyes back in shape with. Indeed. Let's move on to the juicy stuff. Let's talk about the developers of this game. Now, the most interesting and perhaps the most characteristic thing to note about this game, not just its development but in general, is that it was done in a completely separate department than usual. You could say it was done by an arcade team, specifically by Yu Suzuki and members of his team. The team which would later become known as AM2, which is short for amusement. AM stands for amusement machines, like arcade games as opposed to consumer departments. So much so that Vermilion even has, I think they tell you when you beat the game, but Vermilion even has a hidden setting which is very arcade-like, where you can configure your screen. You have to press like buttons on controller too. So we're gonna look at a few selected developers who worked on Vermilion. We got Yu Suzuki here, alias Yu, as he would go by in the credits. Vermilion, he is credited under producer and special things. He is the head of AM2, even though it would form officially after the release of Vermilion. We got pictures here, we got good pictures. It's the only old picture I could find, like really old and shitty picture. AM2 is probably the most known development department of all times at Sega. Maybe, I don't know, together with Sonic Team, because Sonic fanbase is stupid. Known for prodigies such as the first full-body experience arcade game, Hang On, in 1985. This shit came out in 1985. Or the full 3D graphics displayed by Virtual Racing early in 1992. Or the first 3D fighter game ever, Virtua Fighter in 1993. Well, Yu Suzuki was responsible for this and much, much more, as you probably know. Now, by his origins at Sega, let me get rid of some of this crap. I have this. Interesting to note is how in 1984, as we've been saying in other occasions, big figures of this particular scene, meaning Sega, started working on the company's video games at the same time. Now, one side you had this guy and Rieko Kodama. I love that picture. I would like to zoom on it and print it on somebody's car. Like, let me do that actually. It's just the best meme. All right, that's good. Yu Suzuki and Kodama were working on their first video game ever, which was Champion Boxing. There you go. On the other side, you actually had Yuji Naka and Hiroshi Kawaguchi working on Girls Garden, which I bet more people are familiar with. Both were SG-1000 games, but the cool thing is that while the guys on the left hadn't ever worked on a game before, the guys on the right definitely did. They did have previous programming experience. Should be noted though that Yu Suzuki joined the company in 1983, not 1984, and he was more of a hardware guy than the others, as demonstrated by his enormous contribution to Sega's state-of-the-art arcade boards that came out thanks to him, or by his revolutionary super scaler technology displayed in the famous arcade hits. You know, the shit like Space Harrier, basically the father of scaling. And that's the point. He is not only a pioneer, but also the father of mainstream 3D video games. I always had an interest in that during college, as he says in interviews. Bring this. That's the best picture up. So all of his design, even the hardware ones, were always focused on that, on the 3D effects. Even when there was no capability of doing so with the current hardware, like Hang On, Space Harrier, Outrun, Afterburner, G-Lock, Power Drift, which I think was the first kart racing game. Those are all 2D games with 3D algorithms on the inside. More on that trend would follow as it would work on the Sega Model 1, 2, and 3 arcade systems, and even the Sega Naomi 2 hardware later on, and I'm sure he did a bunch of other stuff. We're not gonna go too deep into that. He eventually did leave Sega in 2008, and on the 11th of November he founded his own company called YAS. YAS, it stands for Yu Suzuki, not the popular Falcom series. Now, Vermilion was definitely his first console game. It was also undoubtedly not only the leader, but also the most high-profile individual of that development team, single-handedly ruling over the whole arcade scene at the time. Rent a Hero, though, that would be his second one, game we have not played yet. You can tell this is the same team, roughly, of Vermilion if you play this, which I haven't. I've never played this, but Just looking at a screenshot or listening to the soundtrack is enough to realize that. Again, yeah, there's I think 3 or 4 other Vermilion developers in it, including Hiroshi Kawaguchi, the composer on the soundtrack. Now, his console work, though, was not meant to finish there. It wasn't. His 2 titles, although extremely unique and characteristic, were definitely not revolutionary enough for his standards. Now, in 1995, he started working on a game called The Old Man and the Peach Tree, with the objective of realizing the first 3D open-world third-person role-playing game. It was meant to be set in China. It was also meant to come out for the Saturn, for the Sega Saturn. This was, I think, this was in 1995. And by 1996, he made that into a cinematic tech demo, which was called Virtua Fighter RPG. Eventually, the project continued on the Dreamcast, where a demo would come out in 1998 with the final title of Shenmue. Shenmue was the most expensive game at the time ever, around $70 million, I think. It would only be topped later on by GTA 4, Grand Theft Auto 4, which, and it's no coincidence, is a game that operates in the same way as it's an open world third-person game. That wraps it up for me for this man. It's a very important man. I believe he also received a pretty important award. I forget which one now. We have this guy. His name is Sada. Hiroshi Yamagaki alias Sada. He's credited in Vermilion under director and game design. At first, this dude was involved with graphics, then he left Sega along with Tomoharu Kimura, another guy we're going to talk about very briefly, to found Genki in October 1990, so he left Sega pretty early on. And that logo there is actually drawn by his son, I believe, trying to represent his father. I think he got pretty close. Okay, I got something in my eye. Thanks for the video, Zeki. I didn't want to go too deep though. Now, this company was most known for the niche. What do you say that? This series, Drift Gang, on the Super Famicom. I believe this is the first game. Something Battle 94, just Drift Gang. But they also made stuff like Kill Like the Blood. DNA Imperative, was that the English name? Or I got like a moth in my eye, about to burst. I think we're good. No, we're not. Shit. Okay, good. I'll just block my eye out, like that guy in Fist of the North Star. Eventually, if this keeps up. Okay, so interestingly, I think that in 1993, even while this guy was basically in another company, he and 3 other Vermilion developers made a quick and dirty reunion to do Metal Fangs in 1993. Okay, I got it. Was an eyelash. I think I got that. Is there's a credit that says HH under assistant, and there's other credits, so it seems to match. And you can tell it's basically the same guys. The circumstances are indeed unclear. It could also be that they later finished an old project that became Metal Fangs, because I think this game was supposed to be released in 1992 and then came out in 93 instead. Is it? I should check that. It did seem reliable though. I wouldn't know. I mean, when that game came out, it was pretty absurd, right? I don't think there was anything on console with that kind of scope. So it doesn't sound too far fetched. That would be the most expensive game to make before GTA 4 or 3. Although I think it was 4. So all this theory, which is not really a theory because that's what you find in the credits sites like Moby Games and stuff of this guy is coming together to do Metal Fangs again. It's not actually surprising because if you played Metal Fangs, like it's got very little content. It's really a quick and dirty job. It's still very cool though. Still a very cool game. Would I'd play it again. I would play it again definitely. Okay, next up we got this guy drinking a Corona. Cool guy. Would hang out with. Oh yeah, I got that printed, Bo. It's one of my canvas I printed out. That one because it's so awesome. And it also has the same composer as this game. The Hero score. Very good stuff. This guy is Tomoharu Kimura, alias Tomo Kimura. He's credited in Vermilion under game design, chief programmer, actually programmer with one M. And when I say game design, it's actually spelled badly. It's game design. And manual write. Now, him and the dude from before, Hiroshi Yamagaki, they both left Sega in 1990 to found Genki. He also would have programmed Metal Fangs later on. Move on quickly so we get to play the game eventually. There's this frightening dude next. Keiji Okayasu alias Namako, credited in Vermilion under game design, main program, scenario writer, and manual write. So it's kind of a big shot. Probably most known because of Shenmue as well. This guy after Yu Suzuki was the main person behind the development of the two Shenmue games. He's responsible for the main program and the general game direction there. Other games he's worked on include Daytona USA, I think Metal Fangs again, Dynamite Dukes, and my god, my eye. Rent a Hero and Virtua Fighter, I haven't said that one. So his work is very much tied to that of Yu Suzuki. Alright, we're gonna move on to the good stuff. Very good stuff. Now this is the composer. Credited in Vermilion under Sound Program 68,000. Because you know how the Mega Drive has two processors? Like the other guy is actually credited as the name of the other processor. Also credited for sound BGM is Hiroshi Kawaguchi alias Hiro. Now, him and Yu Suzuki would be the two big guys, the Sega developers that are involved in this game, like the known ones. A bit of a funny history is that when it was first hired, it was put right in a project for a full week, not more, and it was told that we want a game targeted at girls. He had no designer, no planner. He even had to make some art. He wasn't alone though, and he was hired as a programmer, not as a musician. As he's shown like demo tapes he had sent to magazines with his own games that he made, making both the programming and everything else in the music. So there was with him, of course, being this girl garden we're talking about. There were Yuji Naka and another old school composer at Sega called Katsuhiro Ayashi, which was responsible for the sound of Girls Garden. Now this guy was not just a musician, of course. He started doing his shit on this Commodore VIC 1001. He was also in a band, though, as I'm sure most of you are aware, which is the SST band. Who would wear very interesting vests, would get laid every single night for sure, I bet. This was around that time a lot of game companies had their own bands, and this was one of them. They all came out together basically. There was even one concert, like the one you can find on YouTube with the SST band. In that concert, after they were done playing, Zuntata started playing like the Taito in-house band as well, with those cool space, glittery, that's not the right word, gray spacesuits. Very, very weird. So, that's pretty much what prompted his video game composing career, because when Yu Suzuki was working on Hang-On, he asked him to compose music for it that would sound like a music a band would play. That time he was in some random band, probably with some peers, I don't really know. So he recorded a demo and he passed it off to the sound programmer, because at that time he wasn't actually sequencing his own music yet. The Space Harrier as well just called Yu Suzuki in his room, played some of the stuff on the other composer, Hayashi's Yamaha DX7. He got the approval for the music and then just wrote it down on music sheets. That time he did not have a sequencer. It was not yet doing any of that clunky, slow data manipulation and sequencing with macros in assembler and basic commands and shit. He, however, made some sound patches for Space Harrier. Let's not go too much off the rails though, as there would also be a lot to say about Afterburner and a bunch of other shit. Let's talk about the Mega Drive. Now he mentions rewriting the early Mega Drive sound drivers available at Sega in assembler, because they say they were pretty bad. So the custom driver he made for his stuff, like Vermilion, Renta Hero, and what the fuck else did he do? He did that Japanese as fuck game. I forgot the name of. What the fuck was it called? Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, Ninja Buraiden Setsu, I have that one. He did Turbo Outrunner and other stuff, but mainly with his sound driver. That's what I mean. Nobody else uses it. Used it after that. Like, two reasons why nobody else uses each other's sound drivers. Oddly. First, he was like in a separate department because he was working from the arcade team with Yu Suzuki. Secondly, he says in an interview that the culture back then was that sound people took pride in doing everything themselves. Now, Vermilion particularly, he uses PCM for drums. Now, that technology was meant to reproduce voices in video games, but he used it for drums in Space Harrier and Outrun with great results, and for sample guitars, electric guitars in Afterburner. Now, coming from the hardware, from the arcade side, and knowing the Mega Drive had a pretty fucking strong processor, that was a Motorola 68000, and he know the console could handle sampling. So in Vermilion, you actually get pretty slick jams. Now, what I wanted to look at is some Mega Drive PCM stuff. Let's see. This should work. Okay. So this is a video by Savage Regime. Is a major expert of the sound shape, but he also writes not only rearrangements and covers, but also music. Is the hired composer for the upcoming Mega Drive game Xenocrisis, which is going to release this year. Also going to release for like fucking Neo Geo CD, I think, and other stuff. This is a video he made. I'm gonna skim through it a little bit. that as I prepare the monitor and shit. Which obviously fucked up the video, but that's okay. You can hear the sample drums. Oh, look at that. That's Ippo, the female composer for Final Sister 3 and 4. Yeah, let's not get too technical. Let me skip that soon. Okay, there you go. Yeah, Howard Drossen ruled. Is he not the guy that made Comic Zone and the Who's? Yeah, this is a good video. Alright. What we got? We got Contra. Whatever that was supposed to be, it sounds pretty shit. Yeah, man. Such a great game, but he is pretty right there. This sounds very bad. Tried to go for some, yeah. What's this called in English? Symbol? Yeah. It's basically what Dana was trying to do. Of course, Matt Furniss being the best composer to ever have touched the Mega Drive. Yeah, I skipped it, but this is the second game. First two games have much better samples. So you can see there is quite a variety you can get. You can basically do whatever you want. Absolutely terrible. Oh, that one was good. I wonder why. You know what I really want to play? This game. Fucking sampled to death with PCM. Now with this system you could basically do a bunch of stuff. You could even like I think, yeah, there is like you can like, if you're familiar with the Amiga sound, you recognize it sounds like an Amiga game. This is Toy Story on Mega Drive. There's a video about it, probably on the Game Hut YouTube channel, which is by a former Traveler's Tale developer. This is like made through, I think the comments say that, let me check, made like through an Amiga mod video. Yeah, there's a video. Actually, standard 4-channel Amiga mods being played back with software mixing and pitch adjustment through resampling. That's It's pretty insane. So you can do a bunch of that shit. Now, what I want to do, the fuck is that? What I want to do, something else. What I do is take a look at this to show you what you could do on the Mega Drive with PCM sampling. The EverDrive should be able to load this. Hey, Cool J. Maybe it needs a PAL Mega Drive actually. I have to load a PAL BIOS if I have one, but it's just audio, so it should be fine. It's a pretty big ROM, so my EverDrive is shit. It's taking a while to load. There you go. This is insane. Put that music in the game, but the rest of the game will look like Atari 20. What are you talking about? No, actually. Have you ever looked at the Mega Drive Toy Story, Zaki? Because I urge you to do so. It's fucking insane. Okay. So as much as this song sounds familiar, I have no idea what it's from, but the point is you can do insane stuff with PCM. It's a shame a lot of people, like, you know, wow. Well, obviously, like, there's no game in here, so all the ROM is occupied with this. It's basically an auditory tech demo. It's named. How is the file named? How's the file named? It has no name on the song. It's by Tito Primaggi. Sounds Northern European. Let's try this other one. Oh, that was it? That's a good ROM, man. Let's play that again. It's got holes in it and everything. That's pretty bad. Welcome, Zach. Yeah. Fucking Harrison Ford. I'm gonna cut it short with the lore as the other guy I wanted to talk about, but it's alright. Start to feel awkward doing these lore streams, but in the end I keep doing them because I want to make them all into a nice looking website with buttons and pictures eventually. At any rate, Vermilion actually had an unused music track which was called 18 Player Dad. 18 Player Dad, and it's this song. Actually heard plenty of times because I guess because I listen to the soundtrack a lot. So this tune is labeled, this is by the way, let me link, the Cutting Room Floor, awesome website for like cool bugs and shit like that. Hey Xanatos, thank you. And Soulfam as well. Now this tune is called Player Dad. Close this. but it's not actually used when you die, because when you die, you just reappear in a church in Vermilion. However, and I'm reading straight out of the cutting room floor here, if the backup ROM gets corrupted somehow, such as through battery backup failure, and the player tries to load that save, the message "if an error occurs, press button C" will appear. Continuing will play the unused tune, along with the sound effect for dying in battle. That sounds like a creepypasta. And the message "sorry it didn't work, please press the reset button" will appear. God damn it. Of note is also, as I'm sure most of you are aware, they're watching me right now, is the name entry screen music, which actually plays when you're trying to load, you're trying to load a save file as well. Let's reload the RAM into the average drive in the meantime. Wait, I was going to the B. It's actually localized as S. Sword of Vermilion. There you go. Now, what this song does, basically, it increases by an octave with every loop. It results in an extremely eerie and interesting sound if kept on for a long amount of times. Of course, I did personally live this going on actual console for oh, God damn it. Shut up, will you? For more than 50 hours. I had to check back on the bot. Alright. Maybe the cat will let me stream. Let me lower that shit. So you get to hear how it increases in tone each time. Alright. There is, however, another dude called Yasuhiro Takagi, alias Yas. He is credited, as I was mentioning, under sound program Z80. As for the Zlog Z80 sound processor, which is the co-processor in the Mega Drive used to manage the audio in the console. The Master System had it as its own main processor. Interesting to note, and probably related to the fact that many people say that the second model Mega Drive has bad audio. Interesting to note is that I can't remember which board, which model. There's so many, and they're different by region as well. But there was one Model 2 Mega Drive that basically chipped out on the Z80 processor, and it wasn't actually branded Zlog. That one has very shitty audio for that reason. So this guy is another old school Sega composer I have no picture of because he is mostly in the shadows. So he's not as high profile as our friend Hero here. They did work together though, not only in this game, but at Turbo Outrun on Mega Drive as well. He is, however, known as the main sound guy in the Shenmue series. I couldn't find anything to his name after 2010, but in 2010 he is credited for composition of music in Yakuza 4, together with like 4 other people probably, and Afterburner Climax. Now, the funny thing about Hiroshi Kawaguchi playing in the SST band, there's two things. One is interesting, the other one is funny. The interesting bit is that the rearrangements of his own songs, meaning the core of the SST band performances, because Outrun, Space Harrier, they even did Vermilion live, G-Lock, I don't know actually if he made G-Lock, probably. Afterburner. So those rearrangements, they were not made by himself, but by Yoshihiro Kunimoto, who has some. I think he owns the label or some shit, but made some Nintendo rearrangements as well. Now, Hiro seems to have a rather lax approach to the whole thing, and especially doesn't mind having his work rearranged by others. Another side of his that seems very lax and carefree is the funny bit. The funny bit is that although he played in the SSD band, eventually, after being late every single time, he was told by Yu Suzuki that Takenobu Mitsuyoshi would take over and substitute him. This is all from an interview in Shimapulations, by the way, but I'm getting it as a source. I have a link in the paste bin if I remember. I'll post it in chat. Here you see a picture on the bottom right of Takenobu Mitsuyoshi with long hair. Those videos, live performances where he plays with his SSD band are very funny because he keeps dancing the whole time and it's hilarious. And in the interview he also mentions how he was basically getting bullied by the other band members because he was the youngest and he arrived later. He get bullied like in his cup of water or whatever there was that would put like hot miso soup in it, and pranks like that. So that's all I got. Hope you enjoyed that. Happy I got to remember to show off those PCM demos through my EverDrive. But yeah, should you want to, this is an interview. It's supposed to be focused on the SSD band, but it ranges a whole lot because it talks about game development and Sega and whatnot. Of course, that's an awesome website if you don't know it. A lot of retro game, old school material translated from Japanese by that guy. A lot of interview of interests like that one. One is a big source of information and fun. Oh yeah, let's not forget. Let us not forget to look at the manual, right? Okay, so see if I can make this work now that I flipped the monitor. Should have waited. Alright. Let's see. Alright, let's read the inferior manual first. There's one. It's in English, and then we get the artwork, which I bet there's going to be artwork and stuff. Alright. So you kinda hear, if you haven't heard this before, that the music keeps pitching higher, so to speak. It is said to be a bug. I'm sure it was, if not intentional, it was known and left there intentionally because it's fucking awesome. My Mega Drive can guarantee it's not harmful. Oh fuck, that text is so tiny. See if I can read it. Ah. I'm gonna try my best. 18 years ago, the evil King Tsarkun of Cartagena invaded Ex-Calabria, which is very funny in Italian, destroying the fertile fields and peaceful folk of that once prosperous land. King Eric of Ex-Calabria saw that he could do nothing to stop the hordes that stormed his castle walls. He ordered his bravest knight, Blade, to escape with the king's infant son and raise him far from the land of his birth. Blade journeyed far, at last settling in the isolated village of Wycliffe. There he raised the prince, never telling him of his royal heritage. 18 years passed and the young prince grew into a strong, skillful warrior. On the day of Blade's death, the prince learned of his true identity. He vowed to fulfill his destiny and avenge his father's death. Okay, so that's the start of the game. Game objective. The princess vowed revenge against Tsarkun. the evil lord responsible for his father's death. To exact his revenge, the prince must obtain the 8 rings of good. There are 16 rings altogether. The 8 rings of evil are in the hands of Sarkin. He's like guy badass, by the way. I'm not Zenki. It doesn't take long before you would start noticing that it's going up by an octave as a composer and whatnot. I think. Pretty sure it was on purpose, because there's nothing like it that happened before, so I don't know. Like, there's nothing like it on the console that you leave it on and then it does this. At least it isn't known. Guide the prince across the lands of Vermilion. Gain information and power as you roam from danger to danger. Use the magical spells you learn to combat monsters and heal yourself. Explore mysterious caves to discover treasure and powerful magical items. The 8 rings of good are hidden throughout the land. If you're skillful enough, you can collect them all. Your ultimate goal is to out-hack and outsmart Sarkin's minions to reach the final bastion where Sarkin awaits. Once you defeat Sarkin, you will have all 16 rings. With these rings and the Sword of Vermilion, you can banish evil from the world. The journey on which you're about to embark is long and treacherous. It requires physical and mental agility as well as a strong will to succeed. Prepare yourself for the difficult task ahead. Alright, controls, data screens. You can carry up to 8 pieces of each type of gear. Just gonna figure this shit out ourselves. Although I'm pretty familiar with this game. Combat. The world of Vermilion is crawling with dangerous enemies. You must defeat hordes of horrible monsters to reach the final battle with Sarkin. During your travels, either on the road or in a cave, some of the many types of enemies in the game may confront you. Check your 3D screen. See which monster you're facing. The Arch Monsters. They're Sarkin's elite minions, the enemies you should fear the most. They are far more powerful than any enemy you'll encounter elsewhere in the world of Vermilion. To attack with your swords, press button C repeatedly. You can move the prince to the right, toward the monster, or to the left, away from it. You must move in at some point, or you won't be able to inflict any damage. Some of the arch monsters can shoot fire in various forms at you. To avoid the blasts, make the prince duck by pressing the D button down, or swing your sword at the fire and negate it. That's good to know. You cannot use magic while battling an arch monster. Be sure to restore your health and arm yourself appropriately before the battle begins. It's a fight to the death. I wonder if we'll be able to kill the first boss tonight. I think this has more bosses than Phantasy Star 2, which is very easy to achieve as a goal. Ultimate armor. There's the ultimate armor. It's fucking Odin armor and diamond armor. Oh man. Ultimate is not ultimate in this game. There's Odin and diamond after that. And Zwafhem. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There seems to be 6 towns. One of them is called Parma, like the planet in Phantasy Star. Famicom, what's up? It's also the theme that plays in the load screen Soul Fan, by the way. Yeah, I'm trying. Exactly, Duke. I'm glad you can see that finally. Welcome to madness. 8 books. When you want to replace a magic book, you can discard it or sell it at a magic shop. The resale value in books is generally good. There's healing, light, hide. Oh man, there is a special magic to hide yourself from monsters. Will it help me evade random battles? Healing and special magic spell cannot be cast during battle. And I remember all the sprites. This game's visuals are so fucking unforgettable. This game is unforgettable as fuck. Alright, let's get to the good manual. You guys enjoy this game's soundtrack. In the meantime, Maury, what's up? Right, this is the Megamarathon manual. Thanks for buying Vermilion. Blah blah blah. Green Jane, what's up? I think I have this game. I just cannot dig it up at the moment. It's very cheap. Prologue. Oh, you can see the rings here. That's a detail you hardly notice before you step into the manual, where it's the back of the box artwork is zoomed in and without the screenshots on top of it. There's a guy called Ernesto, Ernest Kuhn. And Theodore. I wonder if Ernest is the main character's name. Alright. Does it have... I don't think this has any artwork. It doesn't look like it. Okay, so the... Oh, look at that fucking dragon. So, I think... Okay. Kim. What's it gonna... Okay, the money is called Kim in this world. Maximum is 1 million minus 1. So the artwork that is in the... Oh, there you go. Open door. Search. Cool. I can already hear the music in my head. Not the one you're hearing. I have the church as a Christian cross. There's fancy artwork there. Sword artwork. Bronze sword. Iron sword. Sharp sword. Sword of Vermilion. Oh, look at the hilt. It's got fucking 3 spikes. It's a heavy metal sword. Shield. A leather shield. Small shield. Large shield. Silver shield. Leather armor. Bronze armor. Wonder Boy. Monster Ward armor, which is the metal armor. Dark Lord armor, which is a chainmail with fucking huge waist and pauldrons and a fucking mantle called Skull armor, I think. More artwork. Cool stuff. Very basic artwork, but it gets the feeling across. And it's plentiful. Oh, look at this one in the background. Advice. Giving us hints. We don't need those. Soundo kara hitokoto. Oh, Jiggy! Thank you very much for the 16 months. I don't know, man. This game shouldn't be too long. It's all about how much time can I spare to play it, right? Thank you very much for the continued support. That's a cool number. It's okay. I think it's saying like how because this game's music is very good, try to play it with stereo in your earphones and shit like that, right? Advice, something from the audio guy, something from the designer guy. Alright. Oh yeah, Tatsujin and Golden Axe advertisements. Let's take a look at the hint book because it has unique artwork. We're not gonna read that again because it's the same, but all of this art is unique. Apparently. Nice screenshots, spoilers, artwork. Look at that. More artwork. Dude, that that fucking armor is bigger than the chest. Hmm. Yeah, tell us about your pasta, Jiggy. Look how many sprites. The puffball, toadstool, fungo, and more. Sure. Oh, look at that. Oh, the spoilers. Don't watch. This is just fucking quickly scour for the artworks, man. Ah, there's one. Look at that. I'm gonna avert my eyes from the screenshots, even though I already played this game years ago. Yeah, spoilers. Spoilers don't look. Or I gotta filter out the whatever it's not an artwork. Oh, okay. Here it tells you how to access the sound test and the CRT test I was talking about. It even gives you tips on how to hook your shit up so you can actually record the stuff on a tape. Apparently, if you plug the control pad in player 2 port and press A, B, and C together, you can access the input test and then the other stuff, and it works at any time. But then you can't get that anymore. But I also think they're gonna tell me that once I beat the game. So just beat the game, right? Easy. Alrighty.